Good day. Your job begins every day as part of a kind of a cultural sentry. You're walking your post. You're keeping an eye out. What do you notice? What comprises this? And with all due respect to our great friends around the world and around the world, the same thing goes for you. What recommends, or what represents, I should say, the cultural composite of what we are today? What is it? What is that which we what do we represent? What does it mean to be an American? What does that mean? Let me throw some words out to you. Give me one word. Give me one word. Give me one word. What does it mean to be an American? What is America about? You're standing at the checkpoint. People are coming in, and you have to give them, what does it mean? This is not just a theoretical exercise. I'm asking you something very, very critical. What does it mean to be an American? You've got to stand there. You're about to check someone in, and they want to be a part of our world. What do you call it? What do you refer? What are the words you use? Because there's more to our life. And by the way, again, if you're not in this country, this goes for your country as well. But there's more to it than just Washington. Liz says it used to mean freedom. And it's a great word. And I don't want to correct you, Liz. But what are you not free to do? Words are sovereignty, land of opportunity, idealism, and also, which is very interesting, and now it's interesting, and I just want to focus on this word freedom, because we are, not you, but I know people who use these words all the time, and I'm saying, what are you not free to do? What am I not free to do? Freedom. And by the way, freedom, you say it used to mean freedom. Do we have this today? Does freedom exist today? And I would suggest, and also tell me, more importantly, does it, if it doesn't exist today, has it appreciably changed since before? If that makes any sense. Is there anything about today that, pardon me, this may be very rude, but I'm seeing a bit of a smear here on my camera lens. That was very, very rude of me. Pardon me. Do you see something not existing today? What are you not free to do? What are you not free to do? I ask people this all the time. What can you not do? Well, I cannot say, and by the way, tell me something that your government limits in terms of limiting the freedom or the ability to speak. What is it? And that's a very critical term. What is it precisely? How would you describe these words? What does that mean? I don't know. Liberty, what are you not free to do? Let me see if I can rephrase this. There are parts of this composite that we have. First, there's government. The government of the United States. And you can argue, what is the government? What does it mean? What is it? Do you mean federal? Do you mean state? To protect? What? What does that mean? All right, you can talk about that. There's that. Then there is culture. What is the American culture? What are our values? What are our values? Tell me. Liz again opines, they censor a lot. Let me go back and let's talk about some cultural things. There was a time in this country when people went crazy over Elvis. They went crazy over Frank Sinatra. They thought he was a degenerate, and may have been right in the first place. They talked about rock and roll. They talked about disco. They didn't like that. You couldn't say certain words on TV. People didn't like long hair. Black folks certainly had a lot to talk about in terms of what they could and couldn't do by virtue of their skin color. This was in the 50s and 60s. Prior to that, you can go through this. Then we had, in the 50s, during HUAC, we had people who could not necessarily say anything that could even be remotely construed as pro-communist. So what I want you to know is I want you to look and say, what is different now? What is now? And I submit to you that depending upon how you look at it, I think the level of social interaction, interference, social, is greater than it's ever been, and at levels we've never seen before. If that makes any sense at all to you whatsoever. Does that make sense? Good. Now there's two things I want you to, two stories I want you to look at, which is very, very interesting. And you must always recognize the fact that what happens socially, what happens in terms of your kids, music, publishing, whatever, we'll talk about that, TV, news, movies, film, name it, social media, that probably has more to do with the effects on our country than anything else, than Trump's indictment or the whistleblower or any of that. Two things I want to talk about. Two things. The movie Barbie and Jason Aldean in his new video. Now, let me tell you something. I do not have any time for people that I know who say, I don't care about Barbie, I don't watch Barbie, Barbie doesn't mean anything to me. They love to tell you, I don't care, it doesn't mean anything, so what? What do I care? It's stupid, it doesn't matter. Okay. And then I move on. I don't even try anymore. I don't even try to say, okay, you're not getting it. What do I care about the Beatles? Who cares about long hair music? Well, so what if some people can't sit down at a lunch counter? There are always these people who love to relegate everything in terms of, well, they love to say it doesn't really matter. So there's that. And there's also this Jason Aldean story. Now, this is a little more complicated. First and foremost, remember something. That you are not hearing the whole story the way it actually is. You are not hearing this. You are hearing sort of the story, but not all of the story. As you know, Jason Aldean has a movie, a video called Try That in a Small Town. And they say that it has racist intentions, undertones. The song deals supposedly with how rural America will not accept the same riotous behavior and criminality. They use the Maury County Courthouse in Columbia, Tennessee. A white mob hanged Henry Choate in 1927. Okay, fine. You got what's going on? You got that. Then you've got Barbie, which shows nothing. What did you say, honey? That men are stupid. Everything's binary. Right. Men are idiots. Binary men are idiots. Binary men are idiots. Notice the distinction. Okay? Now, let me ask something right now. Especially people, I think in my age group, women. Do you remember, were you around then when Barbies, and by the way, we have friends of ours who have Barbie collections. I submit they will go the way, Barbie will go the way of the Aunt Jemima. There'll be negative connotations. We'll talk about this in a moment. How many women watching now had Barbies? Where Barbie, when you were a little girl, when we were in the 60s growing up and you had Barbies on TV and you had Barbie and Ken, what was it, Midge, and then there was all this, all that stuff. We had G.I. Joes, that kind of thing. But how many, look at this, Liz says, I'm 50 and I grew up with Barbies. Absolutely. We interviewed one time, one of the best interviews I ever did was the woman, what was it, who invented Barbie, right? Or her daughter?
No, invented. It was her daughter wrote a book about her mom and
Yeah.
Barbie, but the true story was really a man.
A man had done it. I had Skipper. My sister had Barbie. Yes, Kristen, I loved Barbie when I was a kid. This was something. Stop for just a second. Remember when you were a kid? I remember I saw things through, friends and girls, and they loved Barbie, thought nothing of it. It was important. I remember things like Susie Homemaker and all that jazz. We had G.I. Joes. G.I. Joes were great. Now, you can argue, first and foremost, that was there a black Barbie? Eventually, but these were the 60s. It showed a very, very, very kind of an idealized, no waist, blonde, now we say this. At the time, nobody realized it. Blonde.
Barbie did have a friend who looked just like her with brunette hair.
Midge, wasn't it? No, Midge. Anyway. But it was, during the time, it was a kid's toy. It was a joy. Like a Ford G.I. Joe, Ford and Andy. I had the Foot Locker. I had all this stuff. I didn't like, I liked the big G.I. Joe, not the little one, the big one. And it had the rifles, and you would, okay. Do you understand what's happening too? And then there was Twiggy. Now, at the time, looking back, let us write our article and say that it was a white, pro-white. There were no people of color. Barbie was racist. We'll just go through all this nonsense. Just go through this absolute nonsense. Look at this. How Mattel made the first black Barbie. This was from, interesting. Beulah Mae Mitchell was on the first Barbie production line at Mattel before becoming one of the first black employees at the company's corporate offices. In a new documentary, she reveals the journey to create the first black Barbie and how it was about so much more than hair, clothes, and Ken. Now, this is, by the way, from the Independent. Christie, 1968. Let's talk about context. Let's talk about what it was. Growing up, it was a small kind of incremental, might not have been fast enough. I think it's important for girls to have a doll or a baby or a friend that they can relate to. But at the time, I would venture to say that fewer girls were saying, I don't have a doll that represents my own race. I'm not gonna. Maybe it was. I don't know. Asian. There was never an Asian. There was never the handicapped doll. There was never the little person. I mean, we can go on and on. Toys were all about selling just to make the money. It was nothing about this. Granted, there might have been some statements and the like, but nobody made a big deal about it. Maybe they should, but they didn't. Okay. Today, again, I have a friend of mine who has got all these Barbies, and I'm going to say, you better hermetically seal those, because one day that's going to be like having Aunt Jemima dolls or a blackface. By the way, I saw a special last night, an old one about Louis Armstrong. He was the king of the Zulus. Louis Armstrong dressed in blackface. Did you see that? Louis Armstrong was in blackface in the New Orleans during the Mardi Gras. King of the Zulus. This was like the most important thing. He was in blackface. Different context and perspective. Okay. Cut to today. Today you put together Barbie. Men are stupid. It's going to be non-binary, and you're going to be sending the message. The people who were in charge of our culture, call it the shadow government, calling this, you can say Klaus Schwab, you can say whatever you want. Do not miss what's going on here. They are constantly reminding you that what you thought then was going to be reversed, is reversed. Barbie, yeah, we'll give you Barbie, but a little different. Yeah, we'll give you Batman, but a little different. Whatever you thought before. Oh, you want Superman? We'll give you a non-binary Superman. I'm just saying. This is part of everything. But here's the most important part. Listen to what I want you to understand. Even if it means destroying market share, even if it means negative box office, it doesn't matter. Whether it's Anheuser-Busch, whether it's Bud Light, whether it's Target, whether it's Disney, whether it's anything. They don't care. They are being told from someone, do what we say. Your stakeholders, your shareholders, be damned. We don't care about this. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Some things change over time. Remember, there was that Aunt Jemima. Okay, we changed the box. Uncle Ben. Okay, we changed it. We're not talking about that. We're not talking about that. This is a full court press so that your kids, and by the way, they want your kids. Let me tell you something. Mrs. L has been criticized. No, I shouldn't say criticized, but put it this way. There are some meatheads in the world of conservative media, programming, ideology, who don't get it. Let me say something, and I'm speaking for myself. I have seen this since 1908, well, actually before then, but I'll say when I first hit official pay talk radio, 1988, and I saw people who didn't understand it then, who said, "Oh, I'm going to get into this programming." These were radio morons who thought that, okay, I can do AC, I can do AOR, I can do ACR, CHR, Contemporary Hit Radio, Album-Oriented Rock, Adult Contemporary, Urban, Sports, Country. I'm a program director. Music is music is music is music is music. I sell my thing. And they figure, okay, I'm going to take that and I'm going to go now into political radio, even though I know nothing about politics. And I'm going to program radio stations the way I think politics is. I'm going to get a headline here, a headline here. I'm going to take something that works. I'm going to take Rush Limbaugh, and they just missed it. The morons who were running the show still don't get it. Don't get it. The future, by the way, is this year. Now, let me stop right there. The war, what these people want, call it woke, shadow government, intel state, police state, whatever you want to call it, they want your children. They want your children. They want your children for indoctrination, ideology, brainwashing, their actual physical being, their bodies, their minds, because they are the future and they want to do this. I was watching, and I've always been fascinated by what is called organized crime, specifically that of what would be called the Italian. And we always looked at things like the mob, the mafia, and American. But the Camorra, Ndrangheta, the actual Sicilian mafia, this is on another level. And when it comes to Camorra and Ndrangheta in particular, do you know what everybody says? Do you know what all of them say? It's the young bloods. It's the new kids. It's the ones, and there's a movie, there's a TV show, I think in Naples, it's called, I think it's Gomorrah. Gomorrah is their Sopranos. And it's the same thing. Are you promoting this or are you reflecting it? Okay. What do these people say? We want young. We want kids to be raised in this world. The rate of, I'm not going to go into the whole treatise on this, but their problem is illiteracy. I don't mean just illiteracy. I mean culture. They can't find countries on maps. They don't know about other countries. And they're living in the European area. All right. We want to destroy children. We want to I'm speaking on behalf of the bad guys. They want to destroy innocence, perspective, context, hope, values. Values. Kids are sponges. They will say anything. They're not set yet. They're like a Jell-O mold you haven't put in the fridge overnight. They're a souffle that if you hit the door, it falls. It hasn't set yet. This is all they want. This is all they want. Who is going to see Barbie? Who? Who's going to see Barbie? Now, the next thing. Remember, they want to destroy fundamentally, classically American things. You're going to laugh when I tell you this. You're going to laugh when I tell you this. If I went to Naples, Rome, Milan, even parts of Sicily, and one thing I would want to do, you're going to laugh at me. You're going to laugh at me. You're going to think this is the most ridiculous thing. I would start promoting pineapple on pizza. Now you're going to say, wait a minute, hold it, wait. What does that have to do with anything? Wolfgang Puck would say, no, you don't understand it. This is as quintessentially Italian as you can get. There are institutions, certification. In order to be a pizzaiola, you have to have this. It is their staple. Baseball, apple pie, Chevrolet, blah, blah. Pizza. If I go there and I take something that they love and I say, oh, no, I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to get rid of the tomato sauce because there's a Bianca. But still, I'm going to put on what? No. What I'm doing is I am slapping your culture. I want to take something which is quintessentially yours and flip it. Barbie, Marvel. I want to go back to the days when you didn't even realize it. I want you to listen to a song. I'm going to give you this song. I'm going to give it to you now. And when you get done at some point, it's by Amazing Rhythm Aces, and it's Russell Smith, and it's called King of the Cowboys. I'm going to give you this right now. When you get a chance, I want you to listen to this. Russell Smith is one of the greatest country music singers ever. He has a style. And this is it. So this is called King of the Cowboys. And by the way, I want to give you one more. Russell Smith. This is I Want My Country Back. This is just a second. There is nothing more beautiful than... Here we go. I Want My Country Back. This is Russell Smith from the Amazing Rhythm Aces. He also did Run C&W. He is one of my favorites. He passed away sometimes back, but he is so great. He is so quintessentially. So listen to these two later. Just promise me you'll do it. And the notion of when you go back, and I would love to give people a lecture on how my civilization decline. And what you do is you want to go after culture. You don't want to worry. Hunter Biden, corruption in Washington is not that big of a deal. I want to go after your right and wrong. I want to destroy family, dating. I want to destroy tradition. I want to destroy churches. I want to destroy school. I want to destroy the Friday night a football team, a football game in your town. I want to destroy cheerleaders and whatever those things. What you just mentioned before, and you just said it in a couple of brief mentions about when you were a kid. I remember this, I remember that. Saturday mornings, it was cartoons. Sunday was the paper with the comics and going to church. And if you were Italian American, it was the what's your grandmother's house? Well, I love that. I never really realized it, but it was incredible. Anyway, I want to destroy that. And I want to take, and I want to say, now, let's take Liz, our dear friend. Liz, what do you remember? I remember Barbie. Great. And what are you, Morgan? And you're well, I'm a non-binary. Oh, there we go. I'm a jur. That's my pronoun. Jur. Oh, how do you spell that? You don't spell it? Okay, fine. And my family, I remember COVID, masks, remote learning, riots, non-binaries, LGBTQIA, two-spirit. I remember puberty blocking. I remember non-binaries. I remember kids in my class who all of a sudden were not girls anymore. They were, I want as much of that as possible. Barbie, this is the Barbie movie, men are stupid. I want the complete destruction. Listen to what I'm going to do. Men are stupid and women are men. Do you understand what I said? Let me say this again. Men are stupid. Men are, okay, fine. Men are this, but women are men. There's no women, there's no men. You see what I just done? So I've created this new version of this. It really is kind of a neither nor type of thing. Hollywood, and this is important, post World War II, well, really World War II, I would say 30, especially in the early 30s and the 40s. Capra, Warner, Jack Warner, Louis B. Mayer, a lot of these folks, these were Jews. Many of them escaped pogroms, Poland, Germany. They saw fascism. They loved the United States. They loved freedom, the flag. They were the biggest patriots you've ever seen in your life. And they came up with what you would call propaganda. God bless America. Why we fight. Bonds. Everybody in Hollywood, all the studios, Marlene Dietrich sold more war bonds than anybody. They wanted her dead. Hitler wanted her dead. Jimmy Stewart, Ted, Jimmy Stewart, but Ted Williams, Marine pilot, it was a different story then. It was a different story. You even smack at anything even remotely un-American, you're out of that. You're out of the picture. Country music. Country. Let me say that again. Country and Western, the Western part, that's Bob Wills. Okay. Swing. Country. American. But not just American. I mean pioneer, hillbilly, hard work. You got it? Roy Acuff ran the Opry with an iron fist. They didn't even want drums. They don't want drums. They didn't even like banjo. I mean, it was weird. Jerry Lee Lewis one time begged to get on the Opry. Jerry Lee Lewis. And Roy Acuff said, absolutely not. And Jerry Lee Lewis said, no, he did some conventional country stuff. He goes, okay, that's all right. And at the end he says, I'm rock and roll, you MFers. And Roy Acuff went crazy. I mean, country music was so... It was, I mean, Reagan went there, Nixon. I mean, it was hardcore. Nashville. That's why people like Willie, Waylon, Tom Paul Glaser, and others broke away as the outlaws. Not because they were talking about breaking the law, but they did not they did not want this stranglehold. Okay, cut to the chase. Jason Aldean. Now, you're going to hear a lot about him. I don't know this, but don't be surprised if they say, he's a drunk, he's a this, he's a that. Well, I got news for you. Country music, that's songs about drinking, cheating, even Kitty Wells, for the love of God. They're coming after him left and right. By the way, Sparky says, Mom's neighbor made her a topsy-turvy doll in 1930s rural Alabama. The doll was a Caucasian girl in a queen dress, but flipping it over revealed a girl of color in a red dress. Very creative. See? Thank you, Sparky. Thank you for that, sir. Now, Aldean, and by the way, if I recall correctly, he was at Las Vegas, right? When that Mr. Paddock, remember that event that we never got to the bottom of? Who lugged how much ammunition up to his room that none of the, anyway, we're not going to go through that again. I believe it was he. And for some reason, he's kind of been the bad boy. So what has I know this is a long intro, but understand something. So what has the shadow government done? We're going after country music now. And we're going after your boy, Jason Aldean. How do you like them apples? So he is fighting back. He's the Jim Caviezel. He's the Mel Gibson. He's the Clint Eastwood. He is, and by the way, there's a lot of others out there. Don't be surprised if you hear things like Brad Pitt and others. A lot of people. And there's no way to tell, but there's a lot of folks in Hollywood who say, I'm not even going to get near this. A lot of people love Trump and still love Trump. And by the way, you know who loves Trump? You know who are very, very patriotic people? Now, listen to me very carefully. Organized crime. People who are tough. People who basically are saying this against, you would think organized crime people would want people who are weak. No, they respect tough. He's the boss. The same reason during World War II, some of our most zealous American patriots were Vito Genovese and others for different reasons. One of them was because he hated Mussolini and Mora and wanted him out of Sicily, but were enlisted by OSS at the time. And who was it who helped us try to get that commie rat bastard in Cuba? Who was it? Johnny Roselli. It was the American mob. Why? They were in Cuba. They also wanted, just like with the Sicilian, they wanted Castro out. But these were patriots who worked hand in hand with our government. I know it sounds weird, but history is a very weird thing. Well, now we have a different story. Now we're going after things, country music, Nashville, flag, I'm proud to be an American, Lee Greenwood, go down, listen to those songs. King of the Cowboys, about you taught me how to be a man, and the guys in white hats, and Roy Rogers, and Tom Mix, and the good guys, the white hats. Well, they're going after now somebody who dares to stand up. And look what country music is doing. They're running. They're abandoning him. Merle Haggard, Okie from Muskogee. Merle Haggard, when you step on my flag, you're stepping on the fighting side of me. Hank Williams Jr. Remember they went after Hank because he said he was a racist, but he was about hard, tough, masculine, male, hard drinking. Think of, this is just, it's pineapple on pizza in Italy. It's going after something which is so fundamentally, and watch how Nashville, or whatever the music business is, they're going to turn their back because they're falling apart. Next paragraph. Entertainment platforms are collapsing. I posted something Mrs. L brought to my attention about, was it Penguin? Book companies, they're gone. You don't understand something. Zaslav wants to sell CNN. Iger wants to sell ABC. They're falling apart. Look at and watch, do me a favor now, CNN as much as you can stand, Fox as much as you can stand, and look at how they have cut down on bringing in the guests for people to talk to. CNN in particular, CNN just talks about themselves. They just talk about themselves. They don't really have the usual folks. The money's collapsing. It's all done. They are petrified. And what's happening right now is some very important people, and you can call it World Economic Forum, you can call it Carl Schwab, whatever you want. They're coming along and they're saying, we want to change everything. We want to change everything that is happening regarding the fundamental precepts, the fundamental culture, the fundamental values of what has been fundamentally American. Let me tell you what they're going after next. NASCAR. I used to say rodeo, but even that's in bull riding. You know who completely, I'm not sure now, I've been checking a while, but who completely owns bull riding? The Brazilians. Unbelievable. I mean, they, Larry Mahan move over in that JD, what's his name? The guy they thought was so good. These Brazilians are kill you. They've redefined that. But NASCAR, not open wheel, not Indy, NASCAR. That goes back to Cale Yarborough and the Daytona 500, when the bootleggers used to drive on the beach, and bootleggers would drive these cars so that the revenuers would be following. Bonnie and Clyde actually were so successful because their cars could outrun. This is how primitive it was. So anyway, this is folklore. NASCAR, they're next. Remember, I'm telling you this. They're next. NASCAR, folklore. There were people who came along every now and then too. John Wayne was he was brave, but probably would be rather wimpish now. And you must pay attention more than ever to your children. You must look at what they are reading. You must look at what they are hearing. You must look at the curriculum. You must look at what's happening. They are going after children. They're going after culture. They're going after, and by the way, let me just say something. Do not, if you are black, African American, I'm talking about you too. Don't think you have been absolutely left out of this equation completely. Years ago, there was a sentience that people felt towards the plight and the cause and the trajectory of black America. Well, there's one of the greatest things that changed our mind, that brought my generation together, blacks and whites: music. Motown changed everything. Motown was the greatest thing in the world. But jazz before that. But in my mind, in my world, there is no way you could possibly hate a group of people who are singularly responsible for the greatest music of your life. You can't do it. You can't say, I hate those people, but I love... No, can't. Music was the great uniter. It brought everything. And believe it or not, hip-hop did this also. These are critical things to understand. But if you're trying to destroy a culture, you want to get everybody apart. And you want to drive through. And what you do is you want pineapple on pizza. You want to destroy. Oh, Barbie? Was Barbie? You're good. We're going to bring back Barbie. But Barbie is going to be whatever. We're going to have these new infiltrations of whatever it is. Oh, you like Batman and superheroes? We're going to bring those back too. Every now and then somebody will do something. And I'm telling you, country music. And these absolute wimps. Because remember, there is no music anymore. Let me rephrase it. There's no more music industry. You want to see great music? Look at what's going on. Just look at the stuff that's on. Just look at... There's a fellow right now named Billy Strings. Billy Strings, Molly Tuttle. These are two of the greatest purveyors of American bluegrass. She has alopecia. I don't know if that means anything to you. She wears wigs. Who cares? She's just great. And by the way, in the old days, there was a real, dare I say, a real sense of chauvinism. Girls couldn't pick. It was Doc Watson and, Glenn Campbell and, Merle Travis. And no, not Mother Maybelle, maybe. But that's about it. Not anymore. And these people are coming along and they're tearing it up. Billy Strings and Molly Tuttle, among others. What is her name? The Mandolin Player. In any event, people are having albums in their bedroom. We don't need to go anymore to Nashville, to Capitol, to whatever it is, to have them say, okay, I'm going to turn this person over to you. Excuse me? No. We don't know what this is. Country music stations? Spotify? Algorithm music? Sparky says, when airports are built and expanded, often governments pay to install double-paned windows for noise abatement in nearby houses. Should New York pay for installing catalytic converters in pizza parlor chimneys? No. Let me tell you what's going to happen with that one, Sparky. And by the way, thank you. The pizza, whatever, that's going to be forgotten. That's just forgotten. They're going to do for the pizza industry. But by the way, remember, that's a way to go in and destroy, because New York pizza, New York, Chicago, Detroit, the real, New York, Chicago, Detroit, New Haven, Beats, Frank Pepe's and others. These are the pizza. Detroit pizza also is very, very different. St. Louis to an extent. But those are American. So they're doing that on purpose. But they're going to do what they're doing here in New York. New York, every other place is a pot store. One of these pot places, you can buy chips and food and edibles. And supposedly, not supposedly, but supposedly the government is going after them as well. They don't care about that. You're just not going to do this. I saw what appeared to be a lot of people upset about these congestion pricing things. We'll see what happens. But I don't know what to tell you. Don't make the mistake of thinking that, well, I don't really like country music. Doesn't matter. You got to understand what they're doing. I personally don't care much about sports teams, but if they ever prohibit the Mets, we got a big problem. Why is that? Tribalism, nativism, not good. We want you to be a part of nothing. We want you to only know singularity, so that when I take you and I imprison you, you won't notice the fact that you're cut off from that which you used to enjoy, because there is nothing that you used to enjoy. I don't go to church. If they shut down churches, we got a big problem. If we cut down dating, if we cut down courting, if we cut down love, if we cut down those things which used to lay the foundation for dating, courting, family, government, society, tradition, we're through. That's why this is important. And country music, those rats are just running from Aldean, because as soon as these guys say racist, they're going to say, okay, we're too scared, as we say in Hell's Kitchen. Please focus on this. Please make sure you listen to these two songs, King of the Cowboys is so beautiful, you'll cry when you hear it. It's haunting. And there are people today who know nothing. One more thing, I was watching this wonderful piece about the Indictment. And in the old days, the mafia, in fact, people like Provenzano and Totorina and others, well, Provenzano was basically hiding out for 40 years. 40? He was invisible. 40 years. Now, what do you think they're doing? They're going on Facebook. The younger bucks, the young toughs, they're going on Facebook. And they're showing everybody who they are, where they are. It's the old timers can't believe it. This is in the origin of the mafia. Camorra, Indrangheta, and regular La Mafia Siciliana. Sparky says, fun fact, Hawaiian pizza was invented by a Greek in Canada. You know, somebody putting pineapple on pizza, probably. That is such a big deal. I don't know why. Wolfgang Puck. Remember California pizzas and all this? Yeah, California, that's kind of where they kind of got away from it. But anyway, but look how everywhere you're seeing an end to tradition. Tradition. And what's going to save this ultimately is social media. Social media is the genie that's out of the bottle. This is, let me give you, this is Mrs. L's. She has a brand new video coming up. It's going to drop a little bit later on Barbie. Now, I'm telling you, you're going to think, please do not think that because you don't care about Barbie, this isn't important. No, it's very important. It's about our culture. It's about tradition. It's about the message. It's about who we are. It's about inculcating values, little things like that. And let me just say something right now. What they are doing to children, yes, in terms of physical and sexual abuse, yes, in terms of trafficking, yes, but we are destroying and confusing and unsettling their formative years as children. Critical periods of development we are destroying. That's simple. All right, dear friends, little programming note. Tonight we'll be on at 8 p.m. versus 7. 8 p.m. Please make a note of that. And also, make sure you go to the regular YouTube channel. I did 2 pieces. One on the Trump indictment, so to speak, and also this Titan subcase, which I cannot get away from. It's worse and worse and worse and worse. It is horrid. Okay, dear friends, we love you. You mean the world to us. Keep fighting. Do not give up the fight. Do not lose your zeal. We're going to win. We're going to destroy these bastards. But we always have to start off by keeping in mind what we have in mind. Our focus, our determination, our plan, and always know where the enemy is. That's all. It's very simple. Don't pay too me. This whistleblower stuff, interesting, very overblown. It's a distraction, to use your term. Very overblown. All right, dear friends, have a great and glorious day. See you tonight at 8 p.m. Until then, don't forget, the monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue ya. Ta-ta.
You know, Biden's going to Philadelphia today.
Uh-oh.